If you're looking at retirement, at least in the next 5 years, and thinking about what success looks like in that chapter of your life, one of the natural things to do is look at your friends, family, and peers and see what successful retirement looks like for them. But I think we're getting it wrong. What I think we need to do is look further afield. And there's an island in Japan, there's an island in Greece, there's a city in Costa Rica, and there's a small religious enclave in the United States of America that I believe can teach us really useful lessons about a life well lived in the next chapter of our lives and successful retirement. And this is what I want to talk about today. Welcome to What Happens Next. So what I want to talk about today is the research that was highlighted in the book Blue Zones. And blue zones are the areas of the world where people live longer, happier, healthier lives. Centenarians in these places are more abundant than anywhere else in the world. And if centenarians who are living longer, happier, and healthier lives are more abundant, perhaps we can look at those communities and look at those places in the world and think about what we could learn about what a life well lived looks like for us and what we can do about it. So let's talk about some of the lessons that I believe that we can learn on that, starting with number one. And number one is movement as a way of life. Now, I might be getting this wrong because I exercise, I lift weights, I try and stay as fit as and active as possible. But I do that whilst doing quite a sedentary job. But in the blue zones, movement is a way of life. You see, what they do in Sardinia or Okinawa in Japan is just walk. They walk quite actively and consistently. Now, the other important thing is those places are quite hilly, and actually there's a lot of exercise that goes into climbing up and down those hills. But the interesting thing, and the thing I think we can learn from the Sardinians and the Okinawans, is that movement as a way of life, not just as a thing we do in the gym or playing sports, but movement as a way of life is a really important thing to consider when we're thinking about living longer, happier, healthier lives. And for me, it's about incorporating exercise into our natural life. So the question that I'd ask you today is, what's the one small step you can take today, not to go to the gym or to take up a new sport, but just to incorporate a tiny bit more exercise into our lives? Because I think walking the dog or thinking about how we walk somewhere as opposed to jump in the car or take the bus helps us then live those longer, happier, healthier lives. And actually incorporating physical movement as part of our life is one of the things that we know works really well to live longer, happier, healthier lives. The second thing that I want to talk about is the importance of maintaining purpose, because actually one of the things that for many of us work provides is a sense of purpose. And there's an assumption that when we move into the retirement phase of our life or whatever happens next, we then lose that sense of purpose. Now, that doesn't need to be the case, because I believe that actually, even though purpose might change when we finish our full-time career, I believe it's got the opportunity to evolve into something that's more meaningful for you. And the place that I look anywhere in the world that shows this is the Nicoyan region of Costa Rica. Now, it's not a particularly wealthy region of the world. Average salaries sort of average out at $800 to $1,000 a month. However, I believe that this tiny little region in Costa Rica can teach us a lot about a life well lived. You see, in Nicoya, people in the third chapter of their lives often speak about their plan de vida, their life plan, the plan that gives them a clear sense of purpose, regardless of where in life they are. And this purpose drives individuals to stay active, engaged in their communities, and contributes to their overall well-being. the process of maintaining purpose in our lives, and well beyond just our main careers, is something you see in every single Blue Zone. And it's interesting, even if your work doesn't provide purpose in and of itself, often the purpose of work for some of us is actually providing for our friends and family. The challenge we face when we're beyond that period of work is, what does purpose mean in this phase of our lives? My recommendation, if you're within 5 years to retirement, don't wait to think about purpose. Think about your values, think about what's really important to you, and think about what you're going to do to maintain that sense of purpose with the commodity that's going to be the most valuable, and that's your time. If you're enjoying this video, I'd also love you to like this video and subscribe. I'm on a mission with What Happens Next to have more nuanced conversations about a life well lived in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond. And by liking this video and subscribing to this channel, what that enables me to do is help more people. Thank you. I had an interesting conversation with a new client who realized her purpose at the age of 52, realized her purpose, and she just planned to carry on working for another 8 years, but realized her purpose when during lockdown she adopted a dog. And when we were talking about purpose beyond retirement, she said to me that adopting that dog and being able to care for a dog that had been mistreated in the past, but now is in a loving, caring environment, means that her purpose is likely, in part, going to come from when she retires, working with dogs and giving them loving, caring homes. And your purpose is likely to be different. It might be dogs, because dogs are brilliant, but your purpose is likely to be different. But finding out, thinking about that purpose before you move into retirement is definitely worthwhile. That purpose might include volunteering, mentoring, pursuing a long-held hobby, anything that's going to give you a reason to get up in the morning. And often, purpose comes from how you help other people, which is why, and this is point number 3, in the Blue Zones, community is so important. Now, I've been enjoying the work of Belgian psychologist Esther Perel recently, and I think Esther's absolutely right when she says the quality of our relationships determine the quality of our lives. And that applies to when we're thinking about the changes we need to make in retirement. Some of us, we lose focus on the importance of high quality friendships and social relationships in our lives. And there's evidence in every single Blue Zone that to live a longer, happier, healthier lives, social connection and community is vitally important. So the question that I'd ask is, who's in your Malai? The community of friends you can trust to support you emotionally and socially throughout your lives. And if you don't feel you've got that, what small step can you take to start building your own Moai? And the reality is that in different Blue Zones throughout the world, these groups, these collectives are based around different things. In Loma Linda, California, the Seventh-day Adventists commune around faith and family. But finding people who share your purpose and share your values that can support you throughout life is fundamentally important. Because your version of community may be around faith, or it may not. It may be around helping and supporting others, or it may not. But building great communities around you who share what you share is an important and vital step to making sure that you can live a longer, happier, healthier life. One other thing we need to think about to live longer, happier, healthier lives is nutrition. Nutrition matters, and all of the communities in Blue Zones share one important principle when it comes to food. What you eat matters. And in the Western world, we've moved towards convenience. We've moved towards eating as conveniently as possible. But what that's also meant, and all the evidence points to this, is we eat less fresh food. And what we consume tends to have more bits in that we don't know. And is processed and more ultra processed than ever before. Now, I did an amazing interview with Georgia Farah, who shared with me her insights on nutrition and what we need to think about. She's the expert, and I'd recommend that you watch that interview to get more insights than you'll ever need into thinking about the changes you need to make. But all over the world, in these blue zones, there's examples of eating habits that we might want to consider adopting. In Greece, in Ikaria in Greece, they prioritize plant-based eating. The Okinawans in Japan eat until they're 80% full, being more mindful about what they eat. And there's a bunch of additional nutritional lessons we can learn from the blue zones, many of which I'm sure I will share on future videos. So there's a few lessons there when we're thinking about retirement that we need to consider, way beyond the money actually, but really important to consider when we're thinking about the future of our lives. Because even though I believe that financial security is one really important component part we need to consider, we also need to think about living longer, happier, healthier lives with health, purpose and joy. And I believe the secrets from the blue zones can be a blueprint to actually learning the lessons we need to learn to do that. And I'm sure that you've traveled and recognize that actually there's probably lessons learned in communities across the world that we can learn from about living our lives. So what I'd love you to do in the comments is tell me, what have you learned from other countries and other communities about a life well lived? For more on the subjects that we're talking about, this video is the interview that I conducted with a nutritionist, Georgia Farah. There's so many insights in there. And because we've been talking about social relationships today, this video is all about improving social relationships and the one simple step we can take to make sure we do that. Hopefully that was useful, and we'll see you next time on what happens next.